It's Gilliangladrag Fluff-a-torium show.
Where's the treat? Oh, I had the treat ready for so long, then I thought I'd lost it. There we go. And off she goes. Woo! Take your blanket, please. God, that was a bit of a kerfuffle getting her on the chair. She nearly fell off. It was very dramatic. Hello and good morning, everybody. I hope everyone is well and excited to make my patchwork blanket. Or at least find out how to make patchwork blanket. So I have got it here in all its glory. It's quite big. Would you like me to open it up? Are we definitely on air before I start everything, Christopher?
Who knows, Gillian? Who knows?
That's not what you
Certainly
want your
we're on
techie to say, is it?
Instagram.
We're on
definitely
Instagram.
on Instagram.
Okay, all right. Well, if you are watching us, say hi so that we know you're there. Tell us where you are, because we love that. And you know, if you're abroad, it's really sunny here today, so I expect most people are in their gardens, if I'm honest. They'll probably watch this later, but if you're abroad, let us know where you are. We've had amazing weather this weekend, so it's been glorious and we love it. Shh. Gosh, she always makes so much noise when she jumps off the chair. It's like, ah, I've had my treat, woo! Anyway, yes, so I've got the blanket here, okay. So here it is. Now this, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that this lives on my sofa. I'm trying to remember when I made it. It's probably a couple of years old now, I would say. And I won't let people put their bums on it though. You know, I mean, sorry.
I put my bum on it.
You have not put your bum on it,
I have put my bum on it.
I don't think you have, because
I have.
I
have.
Anyway, it's not on the bum bit of the sofa.
Oh.
The bum bit?
That's
the
a
bit you put your bum
one.
on.
It's a different one I put my bum on.
Yeah, it's on the back of the sofa. So people put their backs against it. But also, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know I don't have just one cushion on my sofa. I have about 5,000. So, you know, you can't get too close to it. Anyway, here it is. I have actually prepared some more new little squares as well. Let's just talk about the pack I made this from for a second. I'm going to show it to you and try not to make it all shiny, and there we go. All right, so this is this is the Scheepjes. I know I say that wrong. If you're Dutch, it's Scheepjes. All right, the Scheepjes. Let's just say that because it's very guttural otherwise, and it's all a bit much, frankly. This time on a Sunday morning. So it's the Stonewashed Riverwashed yarn colour pack, all right, that we sell on our website. It is utterly glorious. The Stonewashed yarn is like, they do two sorts of yarn. One's called Stonewashed, one's called Riverwashed. The Riverwashed has got slightly more of a haze to it. The Stonewashed yarn, and we sell both of these yarns in their big balls as well.
I beg your pardon?
Yeah, I was just waiting for that. He knew. So this beautiful yarn, it's a mixture of cotton and acrylic. You're going to ask me what the mix is now. 78% cotton, 22% acrylic for the Stonewash. I think the Riverwash might be slightly different. And this pack is like a little mini ball of every single colour they make. So it's just so pretty. It's so nice. And I do know someone who shall remain nameless who has this hanging on their wall at home. Oh, someone's calling me. No, not now. They have this on their wall at home just as art, basically. So, yeah, it's very nice to look at. But obviously the idea is that you buy the pack to make the blanket, right? I actually had the pre-runner for this pack because they've increased their colours. So when I made my blanket, there were only 50 colours in this box. Now there's 58, okay?
58?
58 colours in this box, each of which is 10 grams. All right, so they're still the same size, so my pattern still works. It's up to you whether you want to use them all or you just want to use a selection of them, okay? I can't quite remember how big this is. I think it says it on my blog post. I have a blog post on our website which goes through how I made this. So if you're not taking notes today, I will put it actually under the YouTube, in the YouTube notes for people to watch later, but it's also a blog post with all the information in it, okay? So I'd say it's about a single bed size when it's finished, the one I made from 50 balls. But if you wanted to make it slightly smaller, obviously you can. Now I have to just mention that I did use an additional pack, you know, because I'm lush, not because I'm lush, because I own a yarn shop, I mean.
Do you? When did that happen?
I used an additional pack for the flowers, all right? So if you don't want to do that, you could make each square slightly smaller and just give yourself, it doesn't take a lot of yarn to make a flower. So that is an option if you only want to buy one pack. But I did use an additional 4 balls of the grey colour to join it all together, and I'm going to show you how I did that. I crocheted mine together. So this blanket is knitted, but I crocheted it together. That's not to say you have to do the same thing. Obviously you could crochet it and then knit it together, or crochet it and crochet it together, or knit it and then sew it together. It doesn't really matter. But I did use another 4 balls. I used a colour called Crystal Quartz, okay, which is colour 814, because I just wanted a neutral colour to join them all together. I literally spent hours deciding how I was going to, you'll see if you look at my blog post, I spent hours deciding which colour was going to go next to which colour, okay, because that's a big deal for me. And also which colour flower would go on which colour. I had them laid out. I'm lucky enough to have the studio space. I had it laid out in the studio, but I also had it laid out at home as well. So obviously if you don't have a studio, use your floor or use your bed to lay it all out on. What I wanted to say though, before I start telling you how I did it, was it's such a nice project to do, especially like if you don't have a lot of time on your hands. So if you want something that you can pick up and put down, you know, like maybe you're doing the school run, or you want to just do it in the car when you're waiting for the kids, or maybe you are watching them swim and you want something to do with your hands. And what's nice is you can just take a ball and the needle and just do a ball at a time. And obviously the balls are this big, so it's not some huge thing to sort of cart around with you. But also it feels very manageable, because once you've done a square, you put that down and then you're kind of on to the next, and there's these natural breaks in it as a project. So it doesn't feel like you're making this never-ending thing that you're never going to finish, because it's like small achievable chunks. So that's a bonus, but that's another reason why we recommend this for beginner knitters as well. It's not the fattest of yarns, and sometimes we suggest that people start with a really chunky yarn if they've never knitted before, because it's kind of it grows faster, and you feel like you've accomplished something faster. But with this, I think this is another case for it. It's a nice thing to learn to do. It's a great way to practice your knitting because it's so simple, and you don't have to think too much. We're literally going to be just knitting stocking stitch. So knit 1 row, purl 1 row, and repeat, and that's it. Okay, so it's really, really good as a pick up, put down project, and it's really, really good for a beginner. Okay, I'm going to put the pack down now and get started, otherwise we'll never get to show you anything. I'm probably not going to have time to show you the crochet flowers today, because that's kind of a different thing. What I will do though, and I haven't done up to this point, is I will write out the crochet pattern that I used to make them, and I will stick that on the blog for you, but everything else is on the blog already. So let me just put this to one side, and let me start off by showing you the very, very basics. I know a lot of you watching this can probably knit already, but I wanted to sort of make sure that you understood everything and that I left no stone unturned. So just even from casting on, because I know a few weeks ago I showed you how to use circular needles and how to knit a hat. That sits on YouTube if you want to watch it. Very popular. We've had a lot of people buying circular needles off the back of that and knitting their first hat in the round, so that's great. But with this, I cast on slightly differently. So with the hat, I used a long tail cast on, which is my absolute favourite because it gives you a lovely stretch. With this, it doesn't matter. You can just use a very simple cast on, the simplest one there is. I cast on for each of these little balls 32 stitches, And I am using our Gilliangladrag knitting needles, 3.25 millimeters. Okay, so what brought that on? Are you pleased about the needles? Yeah?
She's just putting a shout out for the needles.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
her favourite size.
thanks, Booey. That's, you know, let's hear it for the needles. And let's hear it for Christopher's sound effect of someone knitting, in case you thought there was mice in the corner of your room while you're listening to this. And finish the sound effect. Lovely. Okay, it's a good, lovely sound effect. So, I can't remember what I was saying now. You've distracted me. 3.25 millimetre knitting needles. They're 25 centimetres long. It's all very straightforward. I think they're £2.95. If you're watching this in 10 years' time, it's probably gone up. Really easy, okay? So there's nothing complicated about this. That's why we love it. Okay, let me just talk you through the cast on for those of you who don't know. I'm going to do really quickly. Don't lose interest. Okay, overhead shot, please, Christopher. Where are we? Ah, there we go.
Let's go there, look.
Eh?
Let's go to that one.
There we go. Firstly, I just need to apologise about this thumb. When I was putting the heart on it, it slipped a bit and it's not central. It's annoying, but I didn't have time to redo it. Just in case any of you were thinking, oh my God, she's just losing it, you know. Her hearts aren't central. All right, so this is just a normal communal garden beginner's cast on, all right? So we're knitting a stitch and then popping it on, okay? Yarn over, pull it through, pop it on. Should I do that in slow motion for you beginner knitters out there? Oh, I'm not in the centre, sorry. Dun, 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 dun. All right, and so on, all right? So that's, you know, just keep counting them until we've got, wait for it, Blue Peter Styley. Here's one I prepared earlier, guys. Okay, here we go. All right, so here are my 32 stitches, okay? You can see how it sort of curls up as you're knitting it. Don't worry about that. I have had people emailing me, getting halfway through, going, oh my God, it's not going to work. It's not going to be the right size. It's not going to be square. What shall I do? Shall I start it again? And I'm like, calm down. If you're using a 3.25 knitting needle, okay, and you've cast on 32 stitches, it's going to be fine, guys, okay? Just calm down, all right? Right, we're knitting one row and we're purling the next, okay? I don't want to turn this into a how to knit lesson, okay? But it's really straightforward. I'm going to just, okay, why don't you cut back to me for a second, Chris? Do we have any questions so far?
No.
Oh, well,
But
that's
we've
really
got some
boring.
people there. People are coming in. We've got
Where are they all from?
Janny Fisher from Galway.
Whoa, Galway, okay. What's the weather like there? Is it nice?
No, I can't see from here.
No, okay.
We've got Susan in Downs End in Bristol.
Okay.
We've got Kate Burrows from a drizzly island.
Oh no, oh it's drizzling. Oh, well, you know.
We've got Peggy
Peggy.
in Connecticut.
Wow, Peggy. Gosh, it must be jolly early where you are, I'm thinking.
And we got
Was it
Sherry.
the middle of the night even?
She's in Leatherhead.
Leatherhead, maybe not. You know, I think we're on the same time as Leatherhead.
Are we?
I think we are.
I don't know. I've heard Leatherhead's still back in the 80s.
No, I mean, oh, that's so rude, Christopher. I'm sure there's very up to the minute people living in Leatherhead. Don't listen to him. All right, so I'm nearly at the end of my row now. That was lovely filling there. Right, so if you can come back to me now on my handies, please. Christopher, hello. Hello, Christopher, are you there? There we go. All right, so I'm just getting to the end of this row now. So those of you that have never knitted before, this is your basic knit stitch, okay? We're working with the yarn at the back. We're going into the back of the stitch there, okay? And, oh, sorry, I do it so quickly, don't I? I'm bringing the yarn round, bringing it through and popping it off. Let me just do that a few more times, just in case you have never knitted before. So this is your knit stitch, okay? Now, if you carried on doing your knit stitch, you'd end up with what they call garter stitch. But what we're doing here is stocking stitch, which is vastly more attractive, I think. So now when I turn it round, I'm going to be purling.
I've got a question.
Go on.
Well, I haven't got a question.
Go on.
Jacqueline's got one. Are you
Yeah.
going to show how to join the squares?
Yes, I am, Jacqueline.
All right.
Hold
okay,
fire.
All right. All right.
All right, so now our very wise knitting teacher, Clary, came up with this. I think it was her anyway. And it's brilliant. So this is purling. And when you turn it over, you can see the stitches look like rounded, like little pearls, kind of. It kind of helps when you first start knitting. I think it's a great analogy anyway. All right, so now we're going to the front of the stitch, all right, and we're purling, all right. So this is a whole row of purl now, okay. And then what you're going to get on the other side is obviously stocking stitch, all right. So if you just knitted, it would look like this, but knitting and purling, you're getting this lovely, okay, here, all right. I'm not going to show you any more of that now, because it's boring for those of you that know how to knit. But I just wanted to show you that you're casting on your 32 and then you are literally knitting till you've used up the whole of the ball. And just judge it so that, you know, if you've only got this much left, you probably need to cast off carefully because you might run out, okay? I mean, if push comes to shove, don't undo the whole thing. Just attach another bit of yarn right at the end to help you finish it off. But just when you end up with a tail of probably, I don't know, 40, 50 centimetre tail, then you need to start to cast off. But just go to the end of each little ball with your 32 stitches and it should end up more or less square, okay? Now, I did admittedly use these balls for my little flowers, so some of them are a little bit lacking, so maybe it looks slightly more rectangular, although I think it's pretty bob on, to be honest with you, okay? All right, so the next thing I did. So it's important to note here that when they've finished, they are all curly. Oh, me. They're all curly like this, and you do need to get the iron out. But be warned, there is acrylic in this yarn. Do not put your iron onto the hottest setting and then just iron it away without really thinking, because you may scorch the yarn and it may burn onto your iron. No one wants that. So when you're ironing these, I recommend getting a tea towel. You can keep the iron fairly high. Steam is good. This is how I block things. I don't know, everyone has their own way of doing these things. If you do it differently, that's also fine, okay? If you have a better way, great, well done. This is how I do it. I use a tea towel and I use steam, all right? I don't like to like really squash it down too far because I feel like you lose the integrity, good word, of the stitches, okay? But you do want to lose this curl, you want it completely flat. So steam iron over a tea towel, it's got acrylic in it. All right, so make sure that all of your pieces are flat, and I think there's a picture on my blog after I'd ironed them and I had them all stacked in my hand. Okay, so make sure you do that first. Okay, so back to this now. So they're all nice and flat, okay? So the next thing that I did was that I crocheted a double crochet, US terminology, a double crochet around the edge of each of the squares, and I'm going to show you now how to do that, just in case you are not familiar with crocheting. Now,
just for those people who were late.
Oh yes,
How many stitches did you do?
Oh my. 32, all right?
32
so,
stitches.
Yeah,
you
okay.
say.
So we're casting on 32 stitches onto our 3.25mm knitting needles, okay? I suggest you watch it back because I did start right from the beginning. I started right on casting it on and how many stitches and everything. Okay, so watch it back afterwards.
There you go, Lynn. You've been
told. So how to then crochet, double crochet around the edge once you've finished. And I did this on every single square, obviously. Now, I chose this lovely crystal quartz, like I said, because I wanted a fairly neutral colour. I do think it would work in any number of colours. I've just brought some other ones along here to show you. We sell this yarn in so many colours. They are all gorgeous. I think I love that this yarn is so nice, and why this blanket looks so nice when it's finished is that this yarn has this sort of white fleck in it, and it just knocks back all of the colours. So pretty, and actually very nice to use as well. Okay, so when I'm crocheting around the edge, obviously some sides are easier than other sides. So obviously this is the top where I cast off. So my stitches are very defined and I'm going into each one and double crocheting. When you're going down the side, sometimes it's a bit more hit and miss. And you can see that I haven't done it completely perfectly, maybe in some expert crocheters' eyes. But what you want to do, you want to just make sure it lies fairly flat when you've finished it, okay? So you do your best to pick up, let me just move it into position, pick up the stitches as you go and just kind of judge it a little bit. And don't get too bogged down with it, okay? Just do the best you can and make it as neat as you can. And when you get to a corner, you can do a couple of stitches in each corner to help it lay flat. All right, so I just want to go through what a double crochet is. Okay, so I'm going to go into each stitch like that. A double crochet US terminology, and I do tend to use that because I think it's slightly more straightforward, to be honest. Wrapping yarn over the hook once, going into the stitch, and then bringing that yarn through. So you end up with 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over the hook, bringing it through the first 2.
Let me
Yarn
see
over
if
the
I can
hook,
get a little bit tighter on
and
what
then
you're
bring
doing.
it over those 2. Okay, and that's your double crochet stitch sitting in there. Let me see if Chris can get a little bit closer, and we'll do it again. Are you going to be able to, Christopher? Oh, crikey. I was going to say something rude then.
Hold on.
Oh, crikey, look at that. It's almost like surgery. Okay, so I've got yarn over hook, then I'm just going to bring it through again. Okay, so I've got my 3 loops. 3 loops on my hook, and then bringing my yarn over the hook, and then going through the first 2. Yarn over hook, second 2. It's really hard to keep it in the right place now because I feel like the slightest move and I'm off. Right, so I'm going through, okay, let me just start again. Yarn over hook, first thing you do with the double crochet, US terminology. Then I'm going into my stitch, I'm yarn over hook, and I'm bringing the yarn through. 3 loops on my hook, yarn over hook, bringing it through the first 2, yarn over hook, bringing it through the second 2. And there's my double crochet, okay? All right, so that's what's, let me just, oh, can you zoom out a tiny bit more now? Oh, crikey, from one extreme to another. All right, so that's what I've done all the way through, all the way around these 2 here. Double crochet all the way around every single square in the colour of your choosing, all right? So just go out again a sec, darling, please. Yeah, so I was just going to say, you know, like, if we bring this blanket in a sec, like, think of it maybe with peach in between each one. I think that would be really nice. I think turquoise in between each one. I don't know. A lot of them are green and turquoise. I decided this was like something that sort of, I don't know, segregated each colour from the next one sort of thing, I suppose. I don't know. Anyway, that's why I settled for that. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is how I then joined it all together. So obviously I've then ended up with all these millions of squares and they've all got a crochet edge around them. All right. So now I've got so many different things, sample things going on here. Now I want to show you how I crocheted them together. All right. And what I've got here is a nearly matching, but not quite, ball of yarn, which I've just need to pop my crochet hook back into to show you how I crocheted them all together. Okay, so to crochet them all together, what you need to do is basically a bit like when you sew something together, like if you were sewing a cushion cover together or something like that. Put the right sides together, okay? So right sides together. Now if you want to, you could pin it or you could tack it first, but I wouldn't bother. And if you get them in rows to start with, and then one by one, you just join them in rows, and then obviously after you've got all your rows done, then you can join them all going down the rows to make the entire blanket. All right, so here's what I did. This is just a single crochet, all right? So right sides together, what we're doing now is we're going to put the hook through both sides, okay? And then I'm going to get my yarn, oops, and then bring it through. Yarn over hook, and there we go. Okay, so single crochet, we're not putting the yarn over the hook first. We're going straight through, grabbing the yarn over hook, and through both. Let me do that again. So I'm going through both sides, bringing my yarn through, yarn over hook, through both. And you will end up with a ridge when you're doing this. So make sure you grab both sides of both pieces. There's a random hair that I need to remove. Probably one of mine. There we go. Let me just do one more. Okay. So in through one side, in through the other side, grabbing the yarn through, yarn over hook, pull it through both. And as you can see, I'm making this ridge at the top here. Okay. But when you open it up, the ridge is on the back and they're joined together like magic. Okay.
There
Obviously,
are questions.
Yes,
Gillian.
no, go ahead with your questions.
The questions.
Yes.
I don't really understand what I'm reading out.
We'll
I'd
just read
like
it
to
out.
point
That's
that out.
okay. That's okay.
Jacqueline Davey on Facebook says, could you crochet in every other one?
Come back to me a sec, Chris. Could I crochet in every other one? Oh, I see. When you're
Could you
joining them
crochet
together.
in every other one.
When you're joining them together, I'm guessing you mean.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Look, all of this is just how I did it. There are lots of ways, and other ways will also be great and be fine. My advice is always not to worry too much. That's always my first advice. My second piece of advice is always just to go for it, okay? And don't get too, worried. Just do one. Do 2 squares.
Okay.
If it doesn't
so-
work,
Yeah.
abandon, start again. So yes, in answer to your question,
All right.
you could
Next
probably
question.
leave every other one out, but you might get a few holes.
Okay. Is it treble crochet, English terminology?
Yeah.
Also, what size
Yeah.
crochet needle?
Oh, good point. Crochet hook is 3.25. Again, it's one of our Gilliangladrag crochet hooks. 3.25 mil. Super cheap. Exactly what you need. Okay, that's the first thing. Oh, with the UK and the US terminology, yeah, I think it is. I think so when I say a single crochet in US, it means I think that's a double in UK. And when you do a double in US, I think it's a treble in UK or a half treble or something. The half business does my head in. I don't know. If you need to Google what I'm talking about, do, but I don't want to confuse you here now. I'm using US terminology. I've done a double crochet around the edge of each piece, each square, and then I'm doing a single crochet to join them together. Okay.
Okay. Next question.
Yeah, go on.
When you're going into the cast-off knitting stitches, are you just going through the front or the back part of the stitch or the
I know
whole
what you mean.
stitch?
I know what you mean. A, it doesn't matter. B, just make sure you do the same thing all the way along. That's it. It doesn't matter. As long as you're going through part of that stitch, it will hold sufficiently. You may find it looks slightly neater if you go through the whole thing, okay, not just one part of it. But depending on how you cast off, you may find it's very tight, which mine is, which is why I was just going through one part of it, okay. You might do a different cast off, which will give you a different look and might make it easier. So again, it doesn't really matter. Just make sure that you're consistent. That's all that matters. And it will look fine. You won't even notice it. And it will hold together fine as well, as long as you do the same thing on all of them. I actually think the hardest bit is when you're going down the sides. So it's not the cast off edge and it's not the cast on edge. It's the sides, because it's not as clear as to where you're going in with your crochet. So you have to make a little bit of a judgment every now and again, or you may need to miss one out every now and again to make your edge. All you want is for your edge to lie flat. You don't want a frilly edge, so you don't want to do too many stitches, and then you don't want to look like you've accidentally left one out, okay? So you should be able to do every line of your knitting but sometimes it messes with my brain and I just have to go with what looks right. So I think it's fine to override the maths and just go with what looks right. That's me though, and I know there are some people that prefer this very regimented way of doing things, but I think as long as your edge isn't frilly and it lies flat, then you're all good. Oh my goodness, what am I saying? I'm gonna get hate mail.
Jacqueline Davey on Facebook says, how do you tell right side of square?
Oh, well, it's your stocking stitch, Jacqueline. So the stitches, where the stitches are the little V's, that's your stocking stitch. That's the front of your blanket. So when you knit and purl, just go to the overhead a sec, Chris, and then I can explain better. So when you knit and purl, you're getting a stocking stitch. This is the back, where it looks like a garter stitch, okay? So you want the front here. So if you have front to front, right sides together, that's where I'm joining it with my single crochet ridge, okay? And yes, this colour is slightly different, so I didn't want to open another ball of the big colour. So, but actually it's almost the same, you can barely see it. So, so this is your front, these are your front sides, okay.
And Janet on Facebook says, would slipping the first stitch on a row help?
Would slipping a first stitch, oh, what, when you're crocheting it? Yeah, quite possibly, Janet, yes. If you think that's helpful, then do that. This is a rough guide, okay? So if you find an easier way to do it and you're happier with that, then that's cool. That's cool. I am in no way an expert knitter. This is a very straightforward project. I made it up when I was doing it. I'm very gung-ho. I always make things up, and then everyone was like, well, how did you do that? This is how I did it. I mean, if you want to slip a stitch at the beginning of each row, that's absolutely fine. But it's just very basic stocking stitch, very basic double crochet around the edge, very basic single crochet each square together. Don't get too bogged down. Doesn't it look pretty when it's finished? Yeah.
Banini45 asks, how many balls of joining wool do you need?
Good question. Yeah, so all of this information is in my blog post, but good question. Glad you asked. 4 balls I used of this, but I did do a scalloped edge as well, which I'm also going to show you in a second. So, so just to recap exactly what you're going to need to make this. The yarn pack, okay, and then 4 balls of your chosen joining colour, a pair of 3.25 millimeter knitting needles, a 3.25 millimeter crochet hook, and then if excuse me, if you want to make the flowers, I did use another pack of yarn, or maybe you've got some leftover bits of yarn at home, or
we have, definitely we have,
or make each square smaller. So maybe you would, I don't know, cast on 28 stitches instead of 32, and then give yourself a couple of feet, no longer, a couple of meters that you don't use at the end of the ball, so you've got enough for your flowers, for example. Also, I don't think it matters if they're not completely square, each one, as long as they're all the same. As long as they're all the same. You could purposely make them rectangular if you wanted to. All right, any more questions for now?
Nah, get on with it.
All right, so I'm just going to show you, if you're interested, how to do the scallop edge. Now, I love a scallop. We don't actually have any.
I can testify to.
Yeah, we don't have any on my set, which is kind of weird, isn't it? I must rectify that. We do. If you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen I've got a scalloped kitchen hood over my cooker. I'm trying to think of some other examples of where we've got scallops, Chris. Where else do I have scallops?
Your go-to shape is scallop.
Anyway, yeah, I do like to finish something off with a scallop. It has to be said. The good news is it's horribly easy to do this. All right. So this is, you've done your double crochet around each square. You've joined them all together. You've now got your blanket. A lot of people will be happy with that. I can accept that. just put it on your sofa and sit on it, that's fine. If, however, like me, you have to have a scalloped edge, this is how you do it. If you could just pop onto the overhead for me, Christoph, por
Yes,
favor.
master.
Por favor. Gracias. Okay, here we go. All right, so what we're going to do here, and I am in the middle of doing one of my, let me just finish this one. Sorry, I am mid-scallop. And actually, I don't know how many of my mid-scallop I've done. So I may end up with one not looking quite right. I could count them. How many have I got in there? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so one more scallop going into this stitch. And then I will explain all, I do promise. Sorry to be mid-scallop. All right. Okay, so what we do here, I'm just going to miss one, and then I'm just going to do a single crochet. What we do here, we do a single crochet, and then we miss a stitch. Okay, so you skip a stitch. And then we're going to do 5 double crochet, US terminology, into the same stitch. So yarn over hook, bring it through, 3 loops on the hook. You're going to go through the first 2, then you're going to go through the second 2. So can you see that's in that one hole there, that one stitch? So now I'm going to do the second one in the same stitch, folks. In the same stitch. So this is the second one, okay? Yarn over hook, and in I go again. 3. Okay, that's the third one. Oh no, I've done it wrong. Someone sack me, please. Get the proper. All right, sorry, I went into the wrong hole, as the actress said to the bishop. Right, so that's the second one. Right, so yarn over hook, go into the same hole, not the one next door. Let's just say though, that was a brilliant example of how easy it is to remedy your crochet mistakes. All right, there's the third one. Okay, yarn over hook, going into the same hole, please. 4, okay. And then through the first 2, through the second 2. All right, that's my 4th one. And then last my 5th one into the same hole. And then through the first 2. Am I in the right place? Yeah. And then in the second 2. All right. Okay, so there's my basic scallop. Okay, so once I've done that, I'm then going to skip a hole, so leave that one, and then I'm going to go and do a little single crochet in there. Can you see how that's working out? And then I'm going to skip one, and then I'm going to do the same again, and on it goes. Any questions about my scalloping?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Everyone's watching with glee. Right, okay. Well, I'm not going to bore you with that and keep doing it over and over. Oopsie. There we go. I've gone wrong. It's time to stop. So that's basically how you do the scallop edge. Okay. Any more questions about anything? Now, one more note on the scalloped edge, actually, that I did. People were going to ask me, I would imagine, well, what happens when you get to the end and it doesn't quite line up? I would say, this is very Gillian, this, okay. I would say that you judge it. So you know, you sort of get to about here and you think, oh, it's not going to work out for me. Add in a couple of little gaps, or, you know, just like even it out a bit. So maybe leave 2 spaces instead of 1.
Basket is what you're saying? Basket.
Yeah, I mean, there will be those of you out there who will want this mathematically spot on, in which case just count all the stitches, make sure it's right, work it all out beforehand. I'm very much more like, you know, let's just see what happens. I do need to also just draw your attention to this as well. Actually, let's just show everyone this under the overhead, shall we? Please, Chris. You probably do need one of these once you've made this blanket. Because these are our leather labels that we sell. We have these made. So you have to buy them from us, please.
It's very British, isn't it?
Handmade and took bloody ages. Okay, back to me. If you would like some of these, we do sell them in a pack of 3. Well, you know, so many times people make things for others, and the recipient of this gift, this handmade, knitted, crocheted, felted, whatever gift, doesn't fully appreciate how quite how long it's taken you to make and thinks you've knocked it up in half an hour. And invariably, let me tell you, that is not the case, as we all know. All of you watching this now, you all know, right? It's probably taken you like 3 years, not three hours. Anyway, I think it's always good to just pop one of these on the bottom of most things that you make, to be honest, unless you are super fast and do knit things in 3 hours. Anyway, they're leather, available from our website. I suggest you just go to the search bar and you search handmade and took. You can add bloody odours if you want, but it will come up if you do that. So that's that. What else have I got to tell you? I was also just going to quickly run through other yarn packs because you don't have to use this one. Obviously that's the one I used. It's the one in my blog. Oh, to get to my blog, go to the homepage on our website. Slide down to the bottom and you'll see blog posts and inspiration. Click here, click there. And then it's on the second page of all our blogs. I've tried to put it up to the top and it's not having it. The second page of all our blog posts is this one. And it's got all the info there if you ever need it, of what size needles I used, what I did, yada yada. If you do want to have a go using another yarn pack, I can't tell you what the cast on would be and what the needle sizes will be. But I just wanted to show you because there's so many different options here. So if you do just want to do something in pastels, maybe for the spring or the summer or for a baby, I am quite drawn to this one. I feel like I might be having a project coming on with that, or this actually. This is the rainbow one. It also comes in a blue selection. If you've just got baby boys, you need to do, well, oh my goodness, no, that's very sexist actually. No, get pink. Some people just like blue, right? Anyway, so these are soft fun. It's a different yarn. It's also a cotton and acrylic mix, slightly different makeup, very soft. It doesn't have that fleck in it, but really nice to do something in, spring or summer wise maybe. But also we do a lot of cotton yarn packs, which are also very popular. I'm just going to tweak this one down here. These are made by Rico. This is our Rico Rumi. I particularly, let me turn it around actually, love this colour combo. We do this in 3 colour combos. One is pastels, one is brights, and this one is called Muted, I think, from memory, although it doesn't actually say that on here. I think maybe that might be my description. It's like a sort of muted rainbow, slightly knocked back, quite nice, slightly more neutral, although it's got all the colours in there. Very attractive. 100% cotton. Double knit. Okay, so slightly fatter than this. Not a lot, actually, but slightly fatter. These balls, however, are 25 grams, okay? Whereas these little ones that I was using are 10 grams, all right? So, you know, maybe you'd get 2 squares out of each of these. Oh, and these ones are 20 grams. So they all differ slightly. But you could certainly play around with it and do some little test squares. I do think this would make a very nice blanket. Well, as with these as well, actually. And then we've got lots more besides. So if you go onto our website, you click on yarn and then you go to yarn packs, you'll see all of the different ones that we've got. We've got some cottons as well that have a little speckle to them as well, which are very nice. Very summery, very springy. The other thing I was thinking these would be nice for would to just make a bag. You could either make it out of squares again, or you could make it out of stripes maybe. And we do have some patterns for that as well. So that's yarn packs. I love a yarn pack. I love piecing small things together. In fact, I've got a Pinterest board that's called Piecing Small Things Together. How are we doing for time? Because I'm rambling now. But I love mosaic, and I've done many mosaics in my time. But I love this, lots of little things and putting them together to make a big thing. I don't know what it is, what that says about my brain, but I love it. I do think, however, this is probably my favourite one. So, yeah, I think what I love about this one is that it's got these kind of flecks in it. That these colours, you've got all the colours of the rainbow, and some of them are quite vibrant, but it's just all knocked back a bit. It's really pretty. Anyway, so just to give you another view of the gorgeous blanket. I hope that you guys all have a go at this. Obviously you don't have to make all of the flowers as well. Once they are made, I just stitch them on with their tails. Okay, I mean, just very briefly, crocheting. You're crocheting a chain. You're joining it, and then you're doing a lot of stitches in there, and then almost replicating what I did for the scallop and making 5 petals. That's kind of it, really. But I'll try and write the pattern out for that. So lots of little flowers, just sew them all on, and that's it really, guys. Super, super easy. Anyone can do it. It's a lovely project to pick up and put down, especially over the summer. Now, it feels like we haven't been here for ages because Chris has been off doing a job. I mean, what even is a job? He hasn't done one for so long. Anyway, the world is slowly getting back to normal. We've both had our first vaccinations, which is a good thing, I think. And I'm happy to say that he's got another job, how very dare he, in a couple of weeks. And we are going away next weekend. I know, it's all getting a bit like, what? So, what I'm getting to is our next live tutorial isn't going to be until Sunday the 16th of May. I know that's an awfully long time away and I can only apologise. But we will do them as often as we can, even as life gets back to normal. We will be here as often as we can. What I'm going to show you at my next live tutorial is how to spin your own yarn. Now,
No
way from wool tops. You know we love a wool top here. We've got plenty of it. I'm going to show you how to actually spin your own yarn from the wool tops without buying yourself a huge, great big spinning wheel, simply by using one of our drop spindles. Actually, the ones we sell look like this, very similar. Okay, so if you wanted to get one of those in preparation for my next live tutorial, they are $11.95 and available on our website. We do also have some little kits with wool inside that you could use to spin with the drop spindle, okay? But that's what I'm going to be doing on Sunday the 16th of May at 11 a.m, all being well, okay? So in the meantime, I hope you'll have a lovely few weeks. And what else have we got to say, Christopher? Was there anything you wanted to say, Christopher? Chris normally does very important work. We obviously must say a big thank you to him for being here over the past year, doing all. If you could see all the electricity and gadgetry behind you, you would be amazed.
It's all here for show, you know.
There are a lot of wires. Anyway,
It's
Chris
all
is
here
actually
for show.
going off to work on the Brit Awards, which I think is on May the 11th, if anyone's interested in watching. And he's going to be doing a proper job, which is very exciting. So we will be back. We'll see you soon. Have a lovely Sunday. If you've got any more questions, you can message me and I will endeavour to answer them. But in the meanwhile, bye for now.
It's Gilliangladrag.